Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Strong Collectors Podcast. I'm your host, Dakota, here with my co host, Jordan. And today we are bringing you the brand new Marvel Legends Halloween Spectacular. This is going to be a Build a Figure wave plus a deluxe figure. So the source here is brought to us by our own delusion. So take
And
this
imagination,
as you will.
Dakota.
Yes, delusion and imagination.
There's a thin
So,
line.
we'll see. Not officially leaked from Hasbro or anything like that, but come to me in a dream, and here we have it. So I'm going to go ahead and give you my wave that I have delusioned, and then Jordan will give you his. And overall, this is just going to be a fun time. So we'd love to hear what kind of wave you would like to see in the theme of Halloween. I think we tried to keep this a little less obvious. We're not going like super deep cuts all the way through. I've got some that are going to be, some that Hasbro has to put in there. I didn't have any Wolverines, Iron Mans, or Spider-Mans. So if you think of any, like, especially Iron Man or Wolverines, let me know what you think would be a good Halloween version of them. But I'm going to start off. This one may be a little bit more on the obvious side for me. You know how I love magic. I'm going to say that we need a Dark Child. So you can give her kind of the like hoofed feet. I'm thinking a little bit more of the newer version. She's kind of got that Dark Child like in her like own mini series way back when, where it's just kind of like Ileana with horns. I'm talking like kind of full demon mode here. Give her like a flaming sword, some cool spell effects. I'm in for that. Next up, we're going to go a little bit more mainstream. Agatha House of Harkness, or whatever it is out right now on Disney Plus. I'm a big fan of that so far. 3 episodes in, I'm loving it. But I'm going to say that we need a Agatha Harkness newer version. So I'm not going with the old Lady Agatha. I just don't think that would be a very great figure, although it's probably more, it would fit into more displays and shelves because it's kind of that classic look, but she's just in like a shawl and like dress, and like it's just going to be plastic over plastic where she's never going to move. Not that you really need Agatha to move that much, but I just think, I want my spellcasters to be able to hit some action spellcasting poses, and I think the new look for her where she kind of like turns a little younger is pretty cool. Then I'm going to go with Scarlet Witch, and maybe you can help me decide here which version we go with, Jordan,
Okay.
because I think the new look for her, kind of the like sparkly bright red kind of newer look, is really cool, and I think Hasbro could do a good job of making that a figure. That's a cool look, but it doesn't really strike me as like super Halloween-y. Like, yeah, there's magic involved,
Okay.
but I think maybe I'm convincing myself here. I don't want this one as much as I want the new one, but if we went West Coast Avengers crazy, maybe let's go. There's no way they could do it, but this is in my own delusion. This is going to come with swappable hands where you can swap on her twins for her hands.
Wow.
So,
what an accessory. That might be accessory of the year for sure.
I think
Actually,
so
it's
too.
no contest.
So I think we're going to have to go Scarlet Witch West Coast crazy for this one. We haven't had that look for her, like, and swappable baby hands. Where else are you going to find that? Next, this one's kind of more of the deep cut. I'm going to say Strawman. I think this just fits the vibe of Halloween really well. Not a very popular character. I think it's maybe a Doctor Strange character. Maybe there's some crossover with other heroes. But essentially, he's just a scarecrow looking guy. And fits the creepy bill. Now we're going to switch a little more into the Ghost Rider realm. And I know what you all are thinking. You're probably saying, here's another place for Dakota to push his Kashala figure.
That's right.
And I'm not going to do that today. I want it, but I'm going to hold off. Kashala can come later. I'm going to say a Red Hood Ghost Rider, kind of that Final Vengeance kind of look. I think the Red Hood we got is a meme. It's not really a serious Red Hood by any means. Not that this is really going to be your main Red Hood display, but I think it's a cool version. I haven't read the comics yet. I was kind of waiting for it to build up a little bit more, but it looks really cool.
The hood?
Yeah, the hood.
You're saying Red Hood.
Oh, I said the Red Hood. I was saying Red Hood. He's got a red hood. He's the hood.
He's got a red hood, but not
me.
to be confused with the Red Hood.
Very, very true. All right, yeah, true. Going Final Vengeance, the hood.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you can still get the like similar accessory to last time with that hood, but you're gonna have kind of that Ghost Rider flaming skull
Mhm.
underneath it. Give him those like a little bit more ornate pistols.
Right.
I think that would be really cool. Still sticking with the Ghost Rider theme here. I'm gonna
Mhm.
go with Zarathos. I think you were saying that's
Ooh, yeah.
the spirit that kind of inhabits Ghost Rider type of thing.
Right.
Um, but I kind of want the it's kind of like a blue. I think this was a very like '90s look for him, where it's kind
Mhm.
of like him personified. He's got I think a cape and the blue flame effects. I
Right.
just think that's a pretty cool figure. Then we're gonna move into the build a figure. Now
Ooh.
I was not I don't like Cosmo the dog at all. I think
Okay.
the Zabu build a figure was much better. It's a little bit more
Mhm.
substantial. I'm going to stick with the animal theme. Hasbro's been digging the animals.
That's
I'm
true.
going with a Hellcow. I would like to see articulated jaw, and I would like to
Right.
see a swappable head where it's just a little bit more goofy because I think Hellcow itself is just a strange idea for a character in comic books. It's just a strange idea for a character in general. But I think I've seen some art. Maybe it's in like Marvel Snapped or something like that, where
Yeah.
it's a little bit more of a goofy look for Hellcow, and I think that would work. You display it probably more likely with just the regular vampire cow look.
Mhm.
Are we going to have a soft goods cape here? Is it going to be plastic? Ideally, it would be a wired cape. You might have to go third party for that.
Mhm.
Um, but I think a hell cow would be just a funny and probably it would need to be a little bit substantial. So there's fun there.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I'm going to have a deluxe figure. My deluxe figure to go along with my Dark Child is going to be Sim. I don't know how to say his name. S''YM. Um,
Mm.
kind of one of Belasco's head demon henchmen, a little bit bigger. I think it was in that first appearance of Magic in the New Mutants. He's right on the cover
Mm.
there, so I'll put a picture up.
Okay.
So I think that would be a cool one, and it's a generic enough demon to that he could fight. Your Thors, maybe your Doctor Stranges, other figures like that as well.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that is my entire wave. I got a Dark Child,
Right.
Agatha Harkness, Scarlet Witch, Strawman, the Hood, Ghost Rider version, Zarathos, Hellcow build a figure, and then a
Mm.
deluxe sim.
I do like the sound of those. We haven't talked about Hellcow for a while, but I definitely support
Right.
Hellcow's inclusion. Um, yeah, I think Scarlet Witch would be a cool one too with Agatha and get some more magic mixed in with the
Hmm.
horror monsters. So, for me, Dakota, I also have a build a figure wave. I'm going to tell you who it is at the end, but I think we both know who it's going to be. But my six that I'm going to go with, and my temptation, first one I'm going to go with is the zombie Simon Garth classic. I always loved him in the Legion of Monsters, like deluxe multi pack from Toy Biz back in the day. I didn't want to go with all those because I would like all of those figures, but I could see him coming in a wave, and then maybe they would shuffle somebody else in there, like sell a lesser. So I feel like of the monsters, he'd be a pretty desirable one. Um,
Hmm.
but I'm gonna throw him in this wave because I think he'd be cool to have. So I'd like to have him, and I think with updated articulation, he'd be pretty cool. Another monster I would like is going to be Manphibian. This is kind of the creature from the Black Lagoon type Marvel version of that. He's kind of just popped up in random capacities, but I've always liked the Amphibian. I love the creature from the Black Lagoon, and I could see him being pretty cool if they do some cool stuff with his sculpt. And in the Frankencastle storyline, they had little Manphibianlets, so maybe I could get a little add in there with them. Something like that would be kind of fun, I think. If I remember right, I might be making that up, but all of this is made up, so who cares? So I'm going to go with Amphibian. Third one, I'm going to have to throw Elsa Bloodstone in there, a new version of her. I think she's definitely long overdue for an update. We've talked about that before, and
Hmm.
I think that would just be a cool one. You got a whole bunch of different monster hunting accessories that you could even use for other characters, should you want to do that. But I definitely could see her getting updated and being pretty cool. So I'd like to get her in there. Another one that I would want is Baron Blood, who I don't know if we've talked about Baron Blood much, but kind of more of a Invaders bad guy from back in the day, but would pop up in different capacities. I just love him because he's the perfect synthesis of goofy looking supervillain meets vampire. Um,
Hmm.
because you can't take him quite as seriously as you take Dracula, but
Right, for sure.
I could see them doing like a Dracula if they did like that multi-pack. So I'd save Dracula for that. But for this one, I'm going to want a Baron Blood to give me kind of my retro supervillain vampire guy. Although, like I said, Hellcow, great choice. Next, I'm going to go with a Torment style lizard. Now, I've wanted this one for a while,
Hmm.
Dakota, and I think that is kind of the perfect horror, creepy looking version of lizard. I understand why they didn't do it in the retro card, but I could see them just retooling
Hmm.
a lot of those parts. Really, you just kind of give him a new head. I mean, you could maybe tear up his coat a little bit more
Yeah.
or whatever. But
Hmm.
I think giving him those, the fangs and the claws and all that kind of stuff would be a pretty sweet lizard to get. Um, so
Yeah.
I definitely would love a torment style lizard. I think people would go for that. And then last, to round mine out, I'm going to throw Swarm on that list. Now, when we've talked about him before, a lot of it's probably my attachment to Swarm from, what was it, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I always thought he was kind of creepy as a kid. But I had a Swarm toy when I was younger, and I think he kind of fits the Halloween horror aesthetic pretty well. And
Hmm.
again, I don't know where else we're going to see Swarm. So I thought about an inclusion of like a Lady Death or something, but again, that's one where I don't know. I mean, I'm waiting for my Lady Death Uncle Ben 2-pack, so I'll wait for it there.
Right.
But even with her, I mean, if you did the robe thing, kind of like you said with Agatha, it's like, what do you really do with it? Sort of just a statue at that point. So I guess she's appeared in
Right.
other ways, so maybe they could work that out. But she was the honorable mention for me. I know you love your honorable mentions, Dakota.
Okay.
So that's mine for this one.
I do.
And then you know what I know. My build a figure is going to be Frankencastle. It's got to be. And I'd be okay with that in a wave like this because I would buy everything here. Um,
Hmm.
so, of course, I'm going to need Frankencastle on there. This would be an instant buy. I'd get everything. And then as my deluxe, we're going to pull again from the Frankencastle storyline. I'm going to throw Robert Hellsguard in there. If you need a little refresher on that, he was in that storyline, he's like a vampire hunter over time, turns himself into a giant steampunk mech man. So I think you could even go for that, Dakota. A giant robot guy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he might have weapons for hands, but he's like a floating skull at this point in a jar in his chest. So I think he's pretty horrific, but also kind of funny and cool. And it wouldn't do him justice to be a build a figure. But and I think like would they do a deluxe? But if you got like Detroit Steel, I mean, I guess a lot of that was repaint, but I mean that's a pretty niche character to do as a
Yeah.
deluxe. So I have a
True.
little bit of hope for Robert Hellsguard. Maybe if he came back in something, that would be my only chance. So that
Hmm.
is my complete set for a Halloween monster rollout program that is hopefully coming very, very soon.
So let us know down in the comments what would be in your wave, or we can make this a little bit of a competition. Whose wave would you more likely buy? My wave or Jordan's wave? I'm curious to know what you think. Maybe it's got to be some sort of mishmash of both of them.
Hmm.
Let us know down in the comments. We love to hear it. Make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing. And until next time, stay strong.
I mean, did I send you that one time where it's like, "What's your source?" And it's Doctor Manhattan floating down. He says, "It was revealed to me in a delusion."